Om Namo Narayana. Welcome back to our reading of the Taittiriya Upanishad, a very exuberant, full of praise Upanishad, as we saw in the first video. Yeah, let's dive into this. This is a very interesting one, and it's kind of enjoyable for me to read, actually. I like more dramatic things like this. So let's go now into part two, which is called the Brahmananda Valley. May He protect us both together. May He nourish us both together. May we both acquire strength together. Let our study be brilliant. May we not cavil at each other. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The knower of Brahman attains the highest. Here is a verse uttering that very fact. Brahmana is truth, knowledge, and infinite. He who knows that Brahman as existing in the intellect, lodged in the supreme space in the heart, enjoys, as identified with the all-knowing Brahman, and all desirable things simultaneously. From that Brahman, which is the Self, was produced space. From space emerged air, from air was born fire, from fire was created water, from water sprang up the earth. From earth was born the herbs, from the herbs was produced food, from food was born man. That man, such as he, is a product of the essence of food. Of him, that is the head, that is the southern side. This is the northern side, this is the self, this is the stabilizing trail. Here is a verse pertaining to that very fact. All beings that rest on the earth are born verily from food. Besides, they live on food, and at the end they get merged into food. Food was verily born before all creatures, therefore it is called the medicine for all. Those who worship food as Brahman acquire all the food. Food was verily born before all creatures, therefore it is called the medicine for all. Creatures are born of food. Being born, they grow by food. Since it is eaten, and it eats the creatures, it is called food. As compared with this self made of the essence of food, as said before, there is another inner self which is made of air. By that is this one filled. This self is also of the human form. Its human form takes after the human form of that earlier one. Of this, prana is the head, vyana is the southern side, apana is the northern side, space is the self, the earth is the tail that stabilizes. Pertaining to that is this following verse. The senses act by following the vital force in the mouth. All human beings and animals that are there act similarly, since on the vital force depends the life of all creatures. Therefore it is called the life of all. Those who worship the vital force as Brahman attain the full span of life. Since on the vital force depends the life of all, it is called the life of all. Of the preceding physical one, this one indeed is the embodied self. As compared with this vital body, there is another internal self constituted by the mind. But that one is this one filled up. That self constituted by the mind is also of a human shape. That human shape of the mental body takes after the human shape of the vital body. Of the mental body, the Yaksha mantras are the head, the Rig mantras are on the right side, the Sama mantras are on the left, the Brahmana portion is the self. The mantras seen by Atharvangiris are the stabilizing tail. Pertaining to this, there is a verse. One is not subjected to fear at any time if one knows the bliss that is Brahman, failing to reach which Brahman, as conditioned by the mind, words, along with the mind, turn back. Of that preceding one, this mental one is verily the embodied self. As compared with this mental body, there is another internal self constituted by valid knowledge. By that one is this one filled up. This one, as aforesaid, has verily a human shape. It is humanly shaped in accordance with the human shape of the earlier one. Of him, faith is verily the head, righteousness is the right side, truth is the left side, concentration is the self, and the principle called Mahat is the stabilizing tail. Pertaining to this, there is a verse. Knowledge actualizes a sacrifice, and it executes the duties as well. All the gods meditate on the firstborn Brahman conditioned by knowledge. If one enjoys the knowledge Brahman, and if one does not err about it, one abandons all sins in the body and fully enjoys all enjoyable things. Of that, the preceding mental one is this cognitive one, which is verily the embodied self. As compared with this cognitive body, there is another internal self constituted by bliss, but that one is this one filled up. This one, as aforesaid, has verily a human shape. It is humanly shaped in accordance with the human shape of the earlier one. Of him joy is verily the lead, enjoyment is the right side, hilarity is the left side, bliss is the self, Brahman is the tail that stabilizes. And here is a verse to support that. If one knows Brahman as non-existing, he himself becomes non-existent. If anyone knows the Brahman does exist, then they consider him as existing by virtue of that knowledge. Of that preceding blissful one, this one is the embodied self. Hence hereafter follows the question. After departing from here, does an ignorant man go to any other world, or does he not? Alternatively, does any man of knowledge, after departing from here, reach the other world, or does he not? The self wished, let me be many, let me be born. He undertook a deliberation. Having deliberated, the self wishes, let me be many, let me be born. He undertook a deliberation. Having deliberated, he created all this that exists. That Brahman, having created that, entered into that very thing, and having entered there, it became the formed and the formless, the defined and the undefined, the sustaining and the non-sustaining, the sentient and the insentient, the true and the untrue. Truth became all this that there is. They call that Brahman truth. Pertaining to this, there occurs the verse. In the beginning all this was, but the Brahman unmanifested. From that emerged the manifested. That Brahman created itself by itself. Therefore it is called the self-creator. That which is known as the self-creator is verily the source of joy, for one becomes happy by coming in contact with that source of joy. Who indeed will inhale, and who will exhale, if this bliss be not there in the supreme space within the heart? This one indeed enlivens people. For whenever an aspirant gets fearlessly established in this unperceivable, bodiless, inexpressible, and unsupporting Brahman, he reaches the state of fearlessness. For whenever the aspirant creates the slightest difference in it, he is smitten with fear. Nevertheless, that very Brahman is a terror to the so-called learned man who lacks the unitive outlook. Here is a verse on that. Out of his fear the wind blows, out of fear the sun rises, out of his fear runs fire, as also Indra and death the fifth. Now, an evaluation of that bliss. Suppose there is a young man in the prime of life, good, learned, strongly built, and most energetic. Suppose there lies this earth for him filled with wealth. This will be one unit of human joy. If this human joy be multiplied 100 times, it is one joy of the man Gandharvas, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If this joy of the man Gandharvas be multiplied 100 times, it is one joy of the divine Gandharvas, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If the joy of the divine Gandharvas be increased 100-fold, it is one joy of the manes whose world is everlasting, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If the joy of the manes that dwell in the everlasting world be increased 100-fold, it is one joy of those that are born as gods in heaven, and so also of a follower of the Vedas untouched by desires. If the joy of those that are born as gods in heaven be multiplied 100-fold, it is one joy of the gods, called the Karma Devas, who reach the gods through Vedic rites, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If the joy of the gods, called the Karma Devas, be multiplied 100-fold, it is one joy of the gods, and so also of a follower of the Vedas untarnished by desires. If the joy of the gods be increased 100 times, it is one joy of Indra, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If the joy of Indra be multiplied 100-fold, it is one joy of Brihaspati, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unaffected by desires. If the joy of Brihaspati be increased 100 times, it is one joy of Virat, and so also of a follower of the Vedas untarnished by desires. If the joy of Virat be multiplied 100 times, it is one joy of Hiranyagarbha, and so also of a follower of the Vedas unsullied by desires. He that is here in the human person, and he that is there in the sun, are one. He who knows this attains, after desisting from this world, this self made of food, and attains this self made of the vital force, and attains this self made of mind, and attains this self made of intelligence, and attains this self made of bliss. Expressive of this, there is a verse. The enlightened man is not afraid of anything after realizing the bliss of Brahman, failing to reach which words turn back along the mind. Him, indeed, this remorse does not afflict. Oh, why did I not perform good deeds, he might ask, and why did I perform bad deeds? He who is thus enlightened strengthens the self with which these two are identical. For it is he, indeed, who knows thus, that can strengthen the self which these two really are. And that is the secret teaching. And thus ends the second valley.